in reverse. And in the script originally, he arrives back in the Acceleracers.
Okay, interesting.
And I was thinking, like, why would he arrive back in the Acceleracers? He would arrive at the start of the race again. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because he just went into the race.
He just went into the portal again. It's just gonna start him up. So I was like, we should have him. He goes all the way back to the beginning, and he gets soaked. His EDR doesn't work, and now he has to race all the way back to the end. And I remember everybody, was saying it. Everybody was like, "Yeah, you're right. Like, we should totally do that." Yeah, so that's what we changed. Cool. It was a last minute.
All right, welcome back to part 3 of the Andrew Duncan series of episodes here on the Squared Corner podcast. Well, here we go again, Andrew. Again, how is it going?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Oh, it's going great. You know, we're kind of recording these a little bit simultaneously. Getting a little tired, but it's okay. We're gonna roll through this.
Late into the night,
and, yeah, just a little bit late. And to catch listeners up, why don't you reintroduce yourself for those that may have missed episode 28 and 29, the first 2 parts of this podcast miniseries.
All right. Andrew Duncan. I am Andrew Duncan. I was the one of the directors on the World Race series, and the series director, and the director of the final installment of AcceleRacers. I was the voice of Monkey, and I did the motion capture direction for the series and performed the character Monkey, Nolo, and Shirako.
Awesome. And now, let's get to my favorite of the 4 films, mainly because it features the water realm. It's Speed of Silence. I mean, this is quite literally one of my favorite looking episodes. And also, even though I know Vert loses, it's a big whole thing. It's very sad. It just looks so cool. And you just can't help but love it. Especially with the go scene. I want to just touch on this real fast. I know it's not in the script, but I just was remembering the go scene. He gets in that, speedster, dragster thing, and then he just plays the song. Okay, did the song come before, or did it come after?
The song, we had no idea what he was going to play.
Okay.
That's why it's not... That's why, if you look at it, it's very generic in terms of how it cuts to the music.
Yeah.
We knew it was going to be something, but we didn't know what it was going to be. But yeah, that's kind of why. Otherwise, I think if we hadn't had it ahead of time, we probably would have done some things maybe a little different. But
yeah, but it's still good. It's so good. I know a lot of people, myself included, I remember that I was just thinking, man, I'm driving on the road, and this was before I came back into the fandom and stuff, and just thinking there was a really good song I remember as a kid. And I was like, what is that song? I know it's from something. I remember just searching something like, I don't know, Hot Wheels songs. And I found it. And I was like, this is my jam. This was exactly what I remember wanting to do. So I'd put that on YouTube, plug it in the phone, and then plug it in the car and be like, all right, we're riding to go. I mean, this is it. We're turning it all the way up. This is go.
That's awesome.
So love that scene. Okay. With the opening now being focused on the humans instead of the drones like last time, which I love, like we talked about with the first 3 films showing off each faction getting ready. Basically, it feels like as though hope is coming back into the second film as opposed to the first film being really dark. This one gets a little bit more hopeful. Humans get ready for 2 tough realms, but really nice looking ones, Water and Metro. Was that the case to lighten up the tune just a tad to give a shimmer of hope in that? Or like you said, you had said that y'all animated that whole sequence even after, right? Or something like that?
Yeah, a lot of it. Like, basically that opening sequence was kind of done... Well, here, I'll say first. When we got the script, I'll go back even a little bit further. Ignition was coming to an end. Do you know what I mean? It was coming to an end, and the director who had been working on it, Gino Nichelle, I think to this day, if you were to ask him, he would still say this was probably one of the hardest shows he had done. And it was that swamp realm that you were talking about. Mm-hmm. Just the difficulty from all of that stuff at this time period in animation, organic animation stuff, just was not, wasn't up to snuff. So at the end of this, it had ended. Right? You know what I mean? So the show had come to an end. We were already kind of prepping the next show in the lineup. But as that show was going on, we got the script for this one. I don't think it was called Speed of Silence at the time. But what we had talked to them about was how difficult it was going to be to do that first episode, right? With the swamp and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that, the second episode, if we could come in with something that was a little bit not too difficult, it would be good. And then we got delivered the script where it was a water realm. And we were just like, are you kidding me? The most expensive thing we can do right now as the second episode. Are you kidding me? So
that's good.
We got this. So we got this script, and it was there was parts of it that all that stuff that's in that opening sequence was all part of the script. It was all happening. There was dialogue during Monkey rolling the tires and all that kind of stuff. And we had done the mocap for it, but when we had put it all together, it was just like, this is way too much. So that's how that opening sequence got designed. Was we used all of the footage we already had of them doing all this stuff and just put it in the different windows and stuff. But
love it. And that is probably my favorite opening. And did y'all? So that music, like all the orchestra type stuff, that's done with the intent of matching it to the.
What we would do is we would get from the composer, because the composer, Brian Carson, would get us. We'd ask him for some themes and for some chunks of music and stuff like that. So he would give us stuff that we could cut into the animatic to get it kind of moving. So for those sequences, I would say, hey, we're looking for like a minute-long chunk of music. Do you know what I mean? That's for the opening sequence kind of thing. It needs to have this feel or that feel. So for the first one, it was very drones. Do you know what I mean? Oppressive.
Yeah.
And this one was like, this needs to be kind of like the bounce back. Do you know what I mean? We're not winning yet, but we're on the road to winning, right? We've got, the characters have learned a bunch of stuff, and now they're moving forward with the knowledge they have. And they know what they're facing now, right? So that was kind of the idea. So that's and then he would give us that piece of music, and then the editor would cut the shots to them and come up with like some of the window ideas and stuff like that.
Oh, good. That's cool though. And then
one thing I forgot to mention. Sorry, I'll just say real quick.
Go ahead.
When we're talking about the prep of the show, I forgot to mention that Ian Richter took us all out to a racetrack with all the animators, the team, all the lead animators, and a bunch of the other animators out to a racetrack in Vancouver where it was one of the local motorsports teams. And they took us out and they were like having us in the car drifting. They were drifting the car while we were in the passenger seats and stuff like that.
Oh, awesome. What?
So I forgot to mention that was where some of that early money that was getting spent on the at the beginning of the production was also getting spent on that stuff. The animators loved it. Everybody, it totally solidified the team with a purpose and everything like that. So that's why you get to see a lot of that kind of like feeling in the animation and everything that's coming from that early kind of like field trip to the day at the racetrack was awesome.
Oh, that's smart though too, because y'all add a lot of. We talked about staying in the groove.
Yeah,
exactly.
And then
even later on,
they showed us how like getting out of the groove feels and how like, as a passenger, you're like, oh, okay. But you're also like, oh my God.
Yeah. And you got, you're in this one, I think Water Realm, what's the trick is it's supposed to be, easy driving. You're not supposed to oversteer and all that, right? So you're supposed to hydroplane properly, which it has saved my life. That tip. I have hydroplaned before and it's not fun. I was like, remember what they said, and then I was like, all right, stay. Did not do a vert.
Turn into it. Yeah.
Did not do the vert. I actually was okay, and it was on the top of a highway. I was very shocked, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of water on the top of this highway. Houston, am I right?
Am I still here? And that was the thing with the water episode too, right? Because it was such it was way too long a script. So we had to kind of like figure out a way how to bring it down, and then also how to afford it. So it was one of the it was my idea to start as underwater.
Okay.
Because originally we were supposed to come out above water, and the whole race was technically above water and then went underwater for a bit and then came up.
Okay.
So I reversed it, and I had it like, let's start underwater and we have to race to the surface and then go through the portal at the end. Because I was like, that way I can cut down the amount of surface stuff we need. And underwater is It's simple, right? It's just you don't see it, right? It's
just blue backgrounds. You don't need too much going on.
You animate to it, but you don't have to worry. There's no effects anyway. Maybe
right,
some bubbles. Right. So that was how we changed the thing. And I remember, like, I went through and I rewrote. Sorry, Mark, but I rewrote so much of that beginning of the script to have them come in that way and arrive, because I was thinking, they're speeding, they're going super fast, they go through the portal, and then boom. I said it'd be a real surprise. You know what I mean? The last couple of things of just speed to speed to speed. Yeah. Let's have this like slow them down, and they're lost. It's dark. Turn on their lights. There's like those crazy fish are around. You know what I mean? Let's really set some scary mood. So that's what we ended up doing. Designed the idea of them landing and then dropping down, going through the tubes. But they wanted the tubes underwater were supposed to be all of that water tube. Do you know what I mean? So we had this. So we were. Oh,
that's right. In the card art, that's what that is.
There's those areas where there's like an open tube that has a water tube in it. It was supposed to be all that going all the way through the water, and we just were like, we can't. And they were going to drive around it and everything, and we just like, we can't manage to do that.
Yeah.
So that's why we ended up having these tubes with these gaps in them that the fish could try to jump and get them at.
Yeah. Well, it worked well in the end, because that would have been that would have been a lot to think about.
It would have been cool though. There were some really cool designs for it. Like now you could do it no problem. Yeah.
But it would have separated it. It would have been cool. Yeah, it would have separated itself from the pipeline a little bit. But other than that, it looks cool because you can see out the pipes, which is kind of the idea. You can see the fish, and like you're racing.
Kept the track in there, so we could keep the track idea from the thing, and keep all the rigs so animation could use it. Keep all of the tracks bending and stuff like that. So it just made everything easier. But
and then you could race the fish. At some points, you would you race the fish, and that's actually it actually brought a little bit more tension to something. But
because before the fish could just come through all the time, so they were smashing through this water tube, and
that's a lot.
Water was going everywhere, and it was just we were all just like, oh my god. I was just like, it was one of those examples. Like, do you want this to look good? Like, because it's not going to look good. Like if we apply this much effects energy over this length of time, it's going to get thin like paper. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not going to hold up. So it was like, and that's what we did. We figured out the whole kind of just that dynamic just kind of created the rest of the race, and then bringing it to the surface, bringing it from the dark to the light.
Yeah.
Felt kind of like, like the way video games work, you know what I mean? And it kind of, I don't know, felt right.
No, it did. I think it did. And it felt like every time they would shoot out, up and then onto the track, it felt like, oh, they finally made it out of there. And then, of course, Taro's big thing, he gets submerged in water twice. I guess this is what happens now. And then, now he can't EDR out. So now he's forced to race in the dark. And then when he shoots out in the light, it's like, is he gonna make it? I don't know.
How did you like that? Did you like that sequence? Was that like?
That's one of the best sequences in the film. Everyone loves that sequence, especially with the music. And again, I don't know if the music came in before or after, but
I think we had really that. Good. We cut to it a little bit. I think we had that because that was with that kind of heavy metal-y kind of music, or
anything but down. They
had given us a few of these songs that they had licensed from music, like one of those music companies, and said, you pick ones that you like.
Yeah.
And then that we ended up just like when we were looking, we're like, put this one in there, that has the right feel. Well, originally what happened too is like in the original script, Taro goes through the portal with the two drone cars, stuck between the drone cars, lands on the other side, sees the things, it's holy, and then like backs out and goes back through the portal in reverse. And in the script originally, he arrives back in the Acceleracers.
Okay, interesting.
And I was thinking, like, why would he arrive back in the Acceleracers? He would arrive at the start of the race again. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
because he just went into the race.
Just went into the portal again. It's just gonna start him up. So I was like, we should have him. He goes all the way back to the beginning, and he gets soaked. His EDR doesn't work, and now he has to race all the way back to the end. And I remember everybody, as I was saying it, everybody was like, yeah, you're right. Like, we should totally do that. So that's what we changed. Cool. It was a last minute thing. It sucked because it was for the director in a way. Bill Gordon was like, it was something I came up with after we had been animating it, right? So like, we had done it the one way. Do you know what I mean? And it was just like, we need to restructure this, and now we need to like shorten the story even more, because now we need to add him racing through the whole thing again.
But it was so cool.
Yeah, I know, and it was like one of those. I wish I got the payoff a little bit bigger. I think that was the only thing for me. I wish I could have been a little bit better, but I think it was one of those moments that I thought, wow, you made the right call here. This is the right call, and the right call was complicating it for the characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because like everyone gets invested in watching, and they're like, oh, crap, will he? And then everyone kind of comes together. They're like, oh, no. Like,
it was like how we thought of it. We're all sitting around the boardroom, and I was like, he should come back again at the beginning. Why wouldn't he come out at the beginning? And everybody was just like, oh, but that means he has to race through the whole thing again. Yeah.
You have to animate it.
Holy cow. And then there was this whole idea about Taro and Karma getting some relationship. Do you know what I mean? Or some sort of a bonding going on. And then I was just like, she can be leading them through, telling them what to do, when to turn, when to do, done, when to... Do you know what I mean? Kind of thing. And it's like, that builds their relationship. So it was like, it was one of those decisions that echoed out throughout the rest of it. But accomplishing all of the things that they had all wanted to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just this moment where it was like, he should go right back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And it shows he's the fastest driver. It shows he's got the stuff. Yeah. And then we bring all the other characters together watching him. Do you know what I mean? And them going, he can do it. And the Teku guys are impressed. My God, they're impressed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Monkey jumps on the table.
Yeah, he was all excited.
He just jumps onto the table.
It just built this kind of moment, and it built the camaraderie that we needed them to get. And it gave us one moment to have it based on, and it was all based on character again. So it was like, it felt like the right thing to do. So that's probably my proudest moment. I'm glad you liked this.
No, that's awesome actually to hear.
That was the one where it was that late stage decision that we made that cost a lot of like problems for everybody.
But it ended up being one of the most popular scenes. I think that one actually probably has its own clip on YouTube as just like the race. Taro re-enters the water realm, because it's just when the music kicks in, everyone's just like, all right, we're watching this. Like, we're all seated for what's going to happen, because it brings tension, real tension to what's going to happen to Taro, because technically none of them have plot armor.
Yeah,
anyone
and it
can
took them
die.
so long to get through already, right? Like, it took them so long that he had like 15 minutes or whatever, like 11 minutes.
Right, and he beats Vert's time originally, which is...
So it was like...
Vert makes it pretty fast through, but now he's already taken the Hyperpod, so now Taro has to be even faster than that without the Hyperpod which is just the shortcut. Very interesting.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I think everybody on the crew was just like, yeah, this is the right idea. We love this. Yeah. This is getting like it's so exciting now. Yeah. We had to go shoot new mocap and everything.
Oh, man. Worth it. I guess that's why Vert has a jacket on in one scene and doesn't have a jacket on in another scene when it's the same scene. That happens a lot every now and then,
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's got it, and then he's got the shirtless thing on.
Yeah, it's so funny to see sometimes the little, Shirako, I think this one's the one everyone knows. Baseline is going up during one of the scenes, and he's filming. Shirako's filming with his camera on his website. And you just see baseline, and it just looks like it's floating because the wheels are not moving at all. It's just static wheels the entire way up.
There's some of that too, and I was looking at it the other day when I was watching it, and it was like the lens that we chose for the camera that he's filming with on his little monitor, and it's like, we've got like kind of a zoomed in lens. Like, and it's like on his monitor, it's just the materials going by. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, why didn't we put like a wide angle lens so that his camera is showing a better image? It was like, but it was like one of those things you're like, hey, sometimes you're moving pretty fast.
That's right. Yeah, these colors are so cool. It's like, bro, focus. You're in the place. What are we doing? Oh, man. But that actually gets me to a point. I'd mentioned it just now. I was just thinking about it. How did they integrate the Hyperpods with y'all? Did they send you images of them and they were like, all right, this one does this one does that? Or did y'all have to kind of figure out what each one does?
That was kind of what it was. They had like, these are these things that you're going to be able to stick a car in. And then this is going to give you these longer wheels that can go over terrain, or a hook that fires out. So that was it was basically the demands of the toy. That was, I think, those sort of things were the things that allowed AcceleRacers to get made internally inside of Mattel, right? Like if you guys are if we're gonna spend this much money on a thing,
better sell some toys.
Yeah, let's make sure we're selling some toys. Put toys in it, right? And it was like, so that's why, like, those things are like, they just find them. Do you know what I mean? They stumble across them. Hey, all right. And they use it for briefly, and then they get out of it because they were game changers a lot of the times, right? Like, we're like, well, if we give the character that now, like, and don't get rid of it, then how do we resolve the ending here when we're like, do you know what I mean? Like, we can't give them these, we can give these momentary boosts, let's say. Yeah. But so that's why sometimes they're a little bit lackluster. Like, I find when I was like, oh yeah, you can see the toy jammed in there. But I mean, I think that's probably why the show got made, was we jammed the toys in. For the executive side, at least there was some payoff.
I felt like y'all did it pretty well and balanced them. I mean, Vert only gets it for a certain amount of time. Then he's flipped out of it. He's got to race again, and that happens pretty much all the time, except for actually the Metro Realm, where I think, what is it, that BMW just rolls over all the cars. The BMW 2002 funny model that we have identified as a BMW 2002, but it was probably some model on I don't know, something, I don't really recall, but some 3D modeling website that y'all probably purchased it from, just like some other ones that people have found.
I think there was specific cars for the ones in the Metro Realm that were on the roadway. I know the trucks were a design.
Yeah.
But that was an interesting one too, yeah.
Yeah, the BMW is pretty fun though, because now I don't know if you know, Matchbox makes one in all black. So
really?
Have it. So there you go. You can buy a Metro Realm at Walmart, Metro Realm car, and it's not even AcceleRacers. It's probably the cheapest one you can get because all the other ones are expensive. That actually, I had the question: were the rules set in regard to how the portals operated? And you actually explained that they weren't technically, and then you figured it out for them, which was actually good.
I have a knack for doing that sort of thing. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I think it's got to be a directive thing. There's got to be a sense of logic involved in the world that you're in, and if there isn't, then you don't know what decision to make. Do you know what I mean? Like, if any decision's possible, then what's the right one? So it's like, at some level, you need to kind of block things down. But I think, that was one of our biggest things. And like, whether you go through and you can go back to another one and that sort of thing, it was never really the question of Benji is kind of like left over that way. But Banji, sorry, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, I'm going to cut to a quick ad break. We're going to go thank our sponsor, Lap24. Let's thank today's sponsor. Lap24 Coffee powers the Squared Corner podcast. Lap24 Coffee is a premier coffee blend for the car enthusiast that jumpstarts their day. Their best coffee blend is this, the Daily Driver. It offers a well-balanced dark chocolate flavor with beans coming from Costa Rica and Brazil, which comes in both ground and whole. Or you can try my personal favorite, the cold brew, with flavors like Drifter de Leche and Velocity Vanilla. Seriously, this stuff is good. Viewers of the show can use JayCee with 2 E's at checkout for 10% off. That's JayCee at lap24coffee.com. And as a bonus, you can receive a JayCee Squared trading card. That's right. If it wasn't good enough for 10% off, you also get a JayCee Squared trading card. So for any of your Lap24 offerings, beans or cold brew, go to lap24coffee.com and use code JayCee with 2 E's. Lap24 Coffee, the premium choice for car enthusiasts. Thanks for sponsoring the Squared Corner podcast. All right, for the City Realm, what inspiration did y'all draw for the look of that? Because it's like an island connected by a bunch of highways.
Yeah.
It's just really neat, especially with the shot of their cars coming out from the tunnel, and you can see the whole cityscape, which is really nice. What was that like, coming up with that?
That was basically, a lot of that was production related. in the sense of like, how can we afford to have streets full of vehicles and all this moving around kind of stuff. Like I think I might have mentioned before, I think there was moving figures and stuff like that around there before. It was supposed to be like a moving city. Do you know what I mean? With lights turning red and things like that, and crowd simulation kind of stuff that we were like, hey, we can't do that. But so we changed it into the empty city, a city designed just for driving. Yeah. And then, we started off in the tunnels. I think that was always the sense. It was always starting off in the tunnel and then coming. It was basically going to New York City. It was basically the idea, right? You come out of that Lincoln Tunnel and then, whoa, there it is. Yeah. Out in front of you. And I think that it was that sort of idea. Again, this was when Casey Kwan, the one art director, came over to help us on this and started to previs these things. And if it wasn't for his pre-visualization of this set, I think it wouldn't have worked out as well. Because he was the one that kind of said, look, I think he was the island. He came up with the groups of islands connected by the highways. Because we were trying to figure out how do we sell a sense of scale with a city, but be in the city without being. So we were like, if we had these little islands, then you could see more city out there on another island. You could see more city out there. We could have more than just that orange background. We could have this sort of kind of, and I think it was a little bit of a homage to Reboot in a way, because he worked on Reboot with me as well. So I think there was a little bit of a Reboot homage.
Oh, good. And I really think, even if you did put people in it, I'm not sure it would have made much sense anyway, because it's kind of like, all of these are kind of like automated areas. It would have been like, how do you put humans in a realm where humans are going to go racing? Are they enslaved? Wait.
Yeah, and that's what we kept saying.
Some weird questions.
Who are they? Are they robots? Yeah. Are they not the drones? Like, how many questions do we need to have the viewer have? Do you know what I mean? Before this is not worth it.
Right, yeah. And then it just ended up being autonomous cars, and they're just on tracks. And
City of the future anyway, right?
Sense. So yeah. Oh, no. Oh, man.
But it was kind of like, that was it. So we emptied out the street. And it was also, we treated the freeway was basically the orange track. Yeah. And off-roading on the city was this gray kind of road that we could do all this kind of, because we needed all this stuff with them backing up and changing around and turning and getting chased by a truck, and it's really hard to do that when you're just on a one big pathway. So we ended up, that's why we ended up breaking them off into these little neighborhoods that they could race around in. And then those were able to be made quite cheaply. Do you know what I mean? Like we didn't overly spend the budget there. We were trying to watch what we were doing.
Right, yeah.
Because it was already such a big thing for us, all of the cities. So, like we built one of the islands, basically. Do you know what I mean? And then we knew where we were this is where we're going to do this part. This is where it connects with the bridge. This is where Monkey has to go to the bathroom. This is where, do you know what I mean? There's all those, do you know what I mean? We just broke it out on the set, on the low res that Casey made. And then we just up-res the areas we needed to.
Oh, that's cool, actually, to learn about. Because, some of the, I'd say the water realm was probably one of the weird ones where there are some cuts between Vert and he's on a totally different area of the track, even though he's just making a roundabout. And it's like, oh, there's the portal. And then all of a sudden he's not near the portal at all. And
you're like, why didn't he happen on? Yeah, there's a couple times there on that where. Yeah, those things bug me still too.
It's like so small, but it's like, oh, dang it. It's just one of those things.
No, you see it though. You see it, yeah. Especially if you've seen it a lot, or if you really like it, then you would notice.
Yeah, I think first time you probably won't see it, but second or third, it's like, wait, he's right there. Oh, what? And then it's like, oh man, that's just.
And that's the thing for me. Like by the time one of these things is done, like by the time we've made, Ignition is finished and we've sent it out and everything, like I've seen it probably 40 times. Do you know what I mean? Like I've watched it 40 times and all the pieces, and every time we have to like, let's sit down and watch it, see if the story's working. Do you know what I mean? Like I've seen it. You know what I mean? So by the time, so that's why oftentimes I think. After these things come out, sometimes people are like, I'm not going to watch it for a while. I'm going to wait. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I've watched it over and over and over coming up to it. And then a lot of times all you see are those little moments in there that, you know, oh, I didn't
and
get
it's just
that.
not as big of a deal, you know, whenever releasing things. Like perfection.
Whereas watching it again 20 years later, like when I watched it just, you know, a couple days ago, I was enjoying it immensely because some of them I'd be like, oh yeah, and then some of them I'd be like, it didn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Like things that you were worried about, they don't even matter sometimes.
Yeah, I mean the hair through the helmet.
Yeah,
you can barely, I couldn't tell. So I mean, like that's like race. That's so funny. Yeah, that's so funny though. Yeah, and World Race too. Yeah. So
but
it just happens. And then I guess I was gonna ask, did the Micro Realms get like full builds of their tracks, or did y'all only do like very small sets for those? Because they're like Cavern Realm is pretty detailed, surprisingly, for how.
Again, it was
crazy it was.
It was kudos to JayCee Kwan. I mean, he came in and he did all these like he did all these proxy things, right? It just allowed us to picture it in our heads and make decisions before it had to be done by artists.
That's awesome.
Do you know what I mean?
Awesome. We need him on the whatever video game gets created. I know many people. Yeah, just give us those low res ones because everyone's always fighting like how big is this place? How small is this place? Like, it's got to take them an hour to get through. It's like at some points we're like, do we really want to play a video game for an hour through a realm? I don't know. It sounds kind of boring to me, but...
well, he's the head I think he's one of the instructors at the Vancouver Film School for art direction and animation and stuff like that. Lighting.
Awesome. Maybe how to... I don't know. Maybe
look up Vancouver Film School. You might be able to contact him on it because he would be up. He's a natural born helper or educator. I mean, he loves it. But his credit, I think, on the show is quite minimal because he didn't really do too, you know what I mean? Like he didn't, but it's one of those things like he did a lot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And he was one of those people I asked to come in to join the team because I knew what he could do. And he did exactly what I needed him to do. We had been talking about it, do you know what I mean? Like him at his film school, what to do with students and stuff. And I knew he would be perfect, so.
So yeah, JayCee, shout out, man. That's awesome that you did all that for us.
Yeah, he was the one that made all the
so smart.
All those micro realms. Like, and his was remember the cliffside realm? He came up with that whole thing of going off the cliff, the loop around, and then just him and I just kind of talked about what it could be, and then he just took the track and was like, hey, what if I just do this? And made up that whole thing. And he showed it to me in a rough version. And I was like, yep, that's it. Do you know what I mean? It was like one of those things. I was like,
that's sweet.
We can shoot all over that thing. Like we can shoot all of this stuff and we can do the thing where he drops down.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, he just, I don't know, free falls.
Yeah.
He's all right. Yeah, he's fine.
He lands 4 tires. Boom. Boom.
That's what it should do, but Reverb has some
in World Race, they say something about that, like, these cars allow you to take extra impacts or whatever.
That's right, yeah, yeah.
So we were like, we're going to dive into that.
That's right. Yeah, and then some cars, though, they just break on impact, like any little impact.
Too, and yeah. The drone cars, easily smashed.
I know Slingshot just dies instantly, just gets flipped, wheels off, everything's gone, but, if you fall down 5 stories, we're
as long as you're in control of it. You know what I mean? I think it's
right. As long as you're in control of the car, it knows when you're holding the steering wheel.
Yeah, it knows you're a good driver. Yeah, gravity helps. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so I said actually I had this question, but we answered it already, which was the maps created for how the realms actually look and feel, and how fully they are. So we definitely answered that one. Now, was it difficult to animate / direct what the Accelechargers would do? Like how the vines and such would appear under the car in a generative fashion, and even like the glow around some of the cars whenever they use something, or like the light. I know the X-ray vision was kind of cool during the water realm. Taro's going down and he puts it in and you can see everything now, all the bones and fish and dead fish. What was the challenges behind that or animating?
I think the thing was like, I think the biggest challenge was finding ways to use them. You know what I mean? Like, in finding ways to use them in a way that felt organic to the, you know what I mean? Like, felt like it progressed the story forward in a good way or something. So there was occasions, and I think the writers struggled with it too, right? Like, how do we give them these, like, what do we, like, the easiest one, the hardest one for us to do technically, but the easiest one for the writers to use would have been the swamp one, right? With the vines coming out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're out of control. You slap that in. It creates a road underneath you. You drive back to where you need to go. So that's why that one got used the most, because it had the most practical purposes.
Right.
In that regard, I think it could save somebody. Whereas some of the other ones, you put in, you're flying off the track and you put in X-ray vision. Now I can see everything.
Boom, and you're gone. You're done for.
So yeah, there was something. So it was finding the right ways to do it, and I think the writers struggled with it. So it was like, that's probably where we struggled with it too.
Yeah, I know some of them. But I did like how at least it was like, okay, these things are so powerful, they're gonna wreck your car after a certain amount of time. At least then it kind of got people to realize, oh, okay, so cars can break if they use too much of it, so that's why they don't use it all the time. Like for the Swamp Realm, they don't just keep driving on track.
Yeah,
well, a good little addition.
All the way to the place.
Yeah. Well, I just skipped the whole thing.
I'm sure we had that discussion somewhere along the line.
Yeah. So that was a good smart one. That does bring me to something. So there are some cars that are never used that are die-cast. A couple of them being Drift Tech, Power Bomb, a lot of the RDs, a lot of the racing drone cars, and a couple of silencers. Was it just that they could just never find a place in the story, I'm guessing? And even though, though you had a lot of people wrecking their cars every now and then, but they didn't get they got the same car back. Baseline comes back 3 times type thing. So it's like, I guess.
Yeah, we'd always talked about that. There was some sort of a thing that it was like, because that was one of the things I remember we were talking about showing it at some point, and then it got axed. But it was like how, Tesla has a 3D printer basically that prints the car back. Do you know what I mean? Like, so he can print.
Interesting.
So essentially he could print a Dior 2 back. You know what I mean? If we wanted
do it.
Do you know what I mean? But he doesn't. He gets a bike, and then he gets, you know what I mean? Like, so there's ways that it wasn't, but you know what I mean? Like Taro drives all the way back. But who actually EDRs out? Nolo does once.
Jackhammer, Nolo. Yeah. Oh yeah, Synchro gets destroyed, and then he gets high voltage, and then he crashes high voltage, and then he gets Synchro again, I think.
And does Nolo get a different car after his first car?
I think he does.
Because I think that was what the EDRs were, was an ability to give us new cars.
Yeah.
For the characters, yeah.
Although they didn't do it when Baseline got destroyed in the Swamp Realm. They just re-brought back Baseline, which, that makes sense, I guess. It was kind of too soon for his car to go, I guess.
I bet you we didn't have another car. Yeah, I bet you that's probably what it was, is we didn't have any other car.
Because he does get a bike later. That's true. He does get a bike later. So
yeah,
I guess
true,
it just depended on the script and which car was ready.
That would have been it. We probably had the guys making cars as they go, right? But then they would be like, what are the, modeling would switch over to what's important assets for the show. And then when you're filling in time, go back to building these cars that will bring in. But I think that was the original idea from the Hot Wheels perspective, is that, these cars would be expendable. The drivers we'd return, we'd lose the cars, but hey, we'd have another car. You want a new car, right? So
you keep the same amount of characters, and you get a bunch of cars to go along with it. Kind of makes sense, actually, even though they get destroyed, and we love them. Yeah. But I remember hearing from Eric Cherney, he designed a couple of them. He said a part of it was that they were kind of like a manufactured car that they could go back and go buy if they wanted to. And so some of them make a return, and then some of them don't because they didn't have time to go get another one or something like that. So I guess that could be another explanation for it. I like the 3D printer idea, just like the silencers kind of 3D print their
And I think that's where it got axed, right? Because we were talking about doing that stuff, and then we were like, does that make Tesla why don't we do that for the silencers? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and that got turned into that liquid metal coming up over their cars and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so I guess we talked about this already as well, but what was your favorite shot from Speed of Silence that you worked on or influenced? And
it would be that whole Taro sequence.
Taro
for sure.
Yeah. I love it. What Easter eggs, if you remember, placing in Speed of Silence? Or was anything cut that you wanted to make it in? Or maybe what was the scene maybe that was... I'm giving you 3 questions. Let me just start at the first one. Easter eggs.
Easter eggs. I don't know if there are any Easter eggs that we would have done. There might have been something in the in the with the fish swimming around. There could be something in there, maybe.
Was there something? I know there's what about the soda cans? I know the soda cans sometimes have like people's faces on them.
I don't know if we ever did any of that. We have a lot of times when you make up the font for the language, you know how we always have these, crazy alien languages.
Yeah.
You always got to watch out that you don't necessarily allow a direct connotation between letters. Because then sometimes you do get people putting, bad words onto a can of soda. Oh, no. Do you know what I mean? But it's in an alien font that you would never know, but it says fart. Do you know what I mean? Or something.
Yeah. In other words, I know we had banana soda. I think one of them was banana soda that Nolo throws in a trash can. It's a very jank throw.
It's quite funny. Is a horrible throw.
It is quite funny, actually. I mean, it's all right. So, and like, I think there's one scene way later on, but I'm just going to mention it right here. In Monkey's room, he has a picture of Vert's mom on his dresser, and it's like, excuse me?
Does he?
He does. So Vert, and it's even funnier because Vert's coming by, the door opens, and then he goes, "It's Monkey," and then it's just Vert's mom in the scene. So anyway, that was just something funny. I thought maybe y'all did on accident or on purpose.
I think we did.
Oh man,
I think that's the one where it pulls out through the speaker or something maybe, and then Bert's lying in bed, and then he turns and Monkey's yelling up. Yeah,
something like that. I don't remember. Anyway, that was a funny one. Okay, what things got cut because of your Taro scene? So like, what would have been the Taro scene in place of that Taro scene?
I think we had more action. There was more stuff that was going on in the earlier sequence. There was more rivalry between the drivers. I think there's a little bit going on, but I think there was more of it. Do you know what I mean? And then when we looked at it, we were like, do we need more of it or do we have enough of it? Do you know what I mean? Like, could we take this out? I think the other thing was that it had effects and stuff associated to it that we didn't want to have to do, or we're going to, do you know what I mean? Again, one of those things like, this is going to weaken the show if we keep all this stuff in here. So I think it trimmed out some, interactions with the fish probably, which is a shame. It trimmed out probably some rivalry between the characters in the race, back and forth, smashing into each other, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But it gave us that extra thing at the end, which was worth it ultimately. So
yeah, no, agreed. Because even though I like the fish, but that scene is just so good.
Well, it's funny because I was watching it again, and there's like all those fish and everything, and then there's like one shot we have this thing, and there's a group of manta rays go through, and I was like, where have they been?
And I would bet y'all had that, and then it was just, it was just too much time. Don't need it right now.
Yeah, I'm like, we had manta rays too. We used them in one shot or two shots or whatever it is, kind of thing. But it was like, we should have used more.
Yeah. Hey, let's get a director's cut on
exactly. More manta
rays
is all I want to say.
Can we get more manta ray, please? Oh, that's good. Okay, was there any bloopers from this movie that you would have liked, or I say bloopers, but bloopers or deleted scenes that you would have liked in this film?
Yeah, I don't know. I know there was a bunch of it's kind of funny because when you do mocap for things, you actually do get a lot more performance bloopers. Do you know what I mean? Or a take of something that goes wrong or isn't right. The problem is most of the time you end up especially back in 20 years ago, cleaning up all the data was expensive and needed processing time. So you wouldn't keep it. Do you know what I mean? You'd be like, we're not going to spend money on the one that didn't work. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think there's probably a lot of those sort of things where, characters grab somebody and grab the wrong thing, or, you know what I mean? Or moving each other around, or we both try to pass each other, but we're not doing it right. And we kind of stumble into each other. There was a lot of things like that as we were doing it, but I can't think of any that would exist.
Okay. Gotcha. Understood. No, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have anything else to add before we move on to the next film in the series?
I guess by the end of this movie, yeah, we were pretty much we were running and gunning pretty much as a production team and as a crew. Everybody was getting up to steam. You know what I mean? Like, they were all getting there. Like,
yeah,
the animators were really knowing who the characters were. A lot of the animators from World Race were on it, but a lot of new animators as well. So I think we were getting, and I think we had like 3 teams. Like, I think we had like somewhere around 30 animators working on this.
Wow.
So, and I think it was, yeah, I think over the course of, there was probably, you know what I mean? 15 would be on this episode, 10, 15 would be on that episode, or 10 and 10 are prepping the next one, or whatever, however it was working. But so I think by then, by moving from episode 2 into 3, we were getting pretty much, everybody was, you know what I mean? Like, it was all clicking. You know what I mean? Yeah. Casey had come in with the set, so like I say, you know, the pipe realm was coming up. And, you know, dynamic rig changes that we made to make that work out. Do you know what I mean? Without, you know, there's a realm without tracks, in essence, right? Do you know what I mean? So it made them happy. Yeah. Or it made half of Mattel happy, yeah. But yeah, like, I think coming out of this episode, yeah, we were looking forward to it, and Will was coming back in too, right? Will was coming in to direct the 3rd episode, so I knew he knew what he was doing already. Do you know what I mean? Like, because everybody else was new to it. But Will had already done World Race, so I knew he knew the characters, he knew the style, he had been involved in developing it for World Race. So, you know what I mean? I knew his episode was going to be, you know, really good. Do you know what I mean? So I knew I wasn't concerned with his episode. I was more concerned with what would be coming up, which would end up being my episode, The Ultimate Race.
That's going to be good. All right. Well, on the next episode, we will be talking about Breaking Point, which is a lot of people's favorites. I know it used to be the last one that I knew of. I didn't even know about the 4th one for a long time until Warner Brothers had the 4th one on the internet for sale, and my mom bought it for me. And I was like, you can do this? You can buy things on the internet? This is kind of crazy. Like, we don't do that ever. It happens. So yeah, we're going to be talking about that. Okay, where can people find you on social media and more?
I think I'm Monkey Duncan at Blue Sky, and AndrewMonkeyDuncan.com is my portfolio site. You can always contact me through there.
All right, that's awesome to hear. You can, of course, follow me on pretty much every social media under the sun: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X, Discord, and more. Just search up JayCee squared. That's JayCee squared. JayCee squared, just like the math term. And lastly, a huge shout out to the members that make this content possible. At the time of this recording, they are Aiden Winsky, Slingshot Kurt 847, AcceleRacers, Ratchet RPG 01, and Asher Logbeck. And thank you very much to the new members and members as of July 24th, 2026. They are Brandon Christopherson 593, Hyphen Track, David A 4794, Newts, Kwa 1550, Warlock Account, Aiden Winsky 10, Low GFM 7726, The White Backing 616, Acceler 23, ZZ Nino Glaze, Blissful Eliakie, SCF Official 3178, Alseg, Atrieth 5506, Crazy Gamers 74256, Clown of Everywhere, John T, Ratchet RPG 01, and Citrus 3. Thank you again, guys, so much for your support. All right. Any last thoughts for the audience? and then of course, gotta get the double thumbs up. Gotta get the double thumbs up. Oh, I love it. I can't do it. Mine doesn't work. This is Windows versus Mac, apparently. Whatever.
It's a crazy thing. Yeah. Oh, crazy. I don't know what that's gonna do. Who knows what that's gonna do? No.
Oh yeah, maybe Jazz Hands gives you a bunch of musical notes.
Yeah, who knows what's gonna happen?
Yeah. Okay, we will see you next time on the 4th entry of this mini-series celebrating the 20th anniversary of AcceleRacers and more. Please rate this podcast, and I want to see what you think about it. Boost the numbers, and hopefully Mattel gets to see more of what we love. And also shout out to the stories of people that we love their story. So thank you again to Andrew, and we're going to say bye and see you in the next one.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
This has been the Squared Corner Podcast. Music composed by Steve Rockette. Video and audio recording by Riverside.fm. Video and audio editing by JayCee Squared. Logo art by Allison Segovia. And lastly, supported by you, the viewer. Thank you.